Everybody, and welcome to the i3net interview series. Today I'm here with Jonathan from 360 HR Solutions. And Jonathan, I've got a few questions for you. So my first one for you is that 360 HR Solutions has been operating in the Illawarra for many years now. Could you just share some information about that and maybe talk to some of the changes that you have seen over the years of your business, but also with the employment landscape as well?
Yeah, okay, fine. And thanks for having us, Bianca. It's a pleasure. Yeah, so we've been here, 360 HR Solutions, been operating in the Illawarra since 2001. I joined the business in 2007. And here we are in 2026, so the best part of 20 years. And there's been a lot of changes in the Illawarra that we've seen. And it's because I've been here for so long, I've sort of had a front row seat to that, which has been a pleasure. Yeah, look, I suppose if I think back now, one of the first projects, which I support a lot of projects, capital projects in the region, steel, mining, coal, ports, etc. Right back then, 2007, 8 and 9, we were supporting the reline of the number 5 blast furnace. And that's just remarkable that here we are nearly 20 years later and proudly supporting the reline of number 6 blast furnace at the steelworks. And there's so much change has happened in that time when I think about that. So BlueScope has gone from operating 2 blast furnaces to 1, massive change at the time. We've navigated the GFC. We've had economic downturns. We've had COVID. But yet the Illawarra has continued to be robust and adapt and change through that time. So as far as the employment landscape would go, we've seen, we're in the heavy industry space, we're probably dominated by steel, coal, the port, and all of the associated businesses that surround and support that. In the steel industry, I always think of it like a great big super tanker that just moves through the ocean. You can't stop it quickly, you can't turn it quickly. Maybe the coal industry is a little bit more like a V8 supercar, and it can stop and start and change and move a little bit quicker. So through navigating those changes, I think we've seen ups and downs in the economy, where the coal industry might have to turn the taps off very quickly, ramp up very quickly. So I think one of the things I've noticed, perhaps through some of those changes in the economy, we seem to have we've got a shift in workforce from, say, coal into steel and back again as the demands change. And of course, they're intimately entwined because you've got metallurgical coal in our region, which of course we need to fire the steelworks up, and the port there to transport that coal. So yeah, I've seen a shift in workforce, steel to coal and back again as required. We've seen some changes in the coal mining sector, which is important to us from ownership. We've had BHP Billiton, and the world's largest miner, owning Illawarra Coal, to be spun off to South 32. And now, very excitingly, it's now owned by a much more agile, smaller company, GM3. So obviously there's changes that come with that, which affects the local employment community. But they're adapting very well and still very, very important to our region. And then, probably another major piece, which I think we've all seen, we're a heavy industrial backbone of the state, of the country, the region, but you would have had to be keeping your eyes and ears closed if you hadn't seen the innovation coming through in our region. Innovative, smart, agile, new companies in the renewable energy sector as well. I mean, that's really exciting to me. We predominantly operate in the heavy industrial sector, but we've also seen the ICT sector growing. But then when you look at, we've got the exciting company of Green Gravity, which we know and love well, the i3net, but not to forget multinationals such as Ingeting, who are right here in the Illawarra. And more recently, we've got the RES Group, which is one of the world's largest renewable energy services company based in the Illawarra. So yeah, we've seen changes in economic challenges. We've seen structural changes in operations, we've been shifting workforces, and now we're seeing a transition to also include innovative industries. And all the way through, the Illawarra has been robust, agile, adaptability, and thriving. Yeah, and it's been fantastic to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a really lovely way to start our conversation, Jonathan. I think you've summed up there really beautifully the changes and the challenges that the region has had, but also that the future certainly is quite positive and bright for the region as well, which is awesome. My next question for you is around why do local employers often benefit from working with a recruitment and HR partner who is embedded in the Illawarra community?
Yeah, I think I'll talk to that question, but I think it almost talks to itself. You know, whilst the Illawarra is, I guess we're 250,000 people as a population, it's still a tight knit group and a community. So, you know, we live here, we're part of the community, we work here, but importantly, we've got continuity. So, 20 odd years in the region, that counts for something. You know, we're practically growing our careers side by side. It means that you get to know how people work, what the culture of a company is, what the challenges they're facing, what the environment that you might be recruiting people into, how that exists. And you get to know that really, really well. So you can, it's a term that's often maybe overused, but you can genuinely partner with your client in the recruitment capacity because you do know each other really well. And not to discredit the value of some of the larger organizations that we've got, globals, corporates, multinationals. But I think we've all seen that, you know, some of the big ones might come down here when we're all doing great and it's boom time, often satellite branches of a Sydney company, and maybe shrink back or disappear when things are a bit tough. I think that the continuity and the dependability is we're always here through the peaks and the troughs. That adds some real value because I think you know, relationships and partnerships are grown. They just don't happen overnight. Yeah, so yeah, staying here and being part of the community it really talks into that and genuinely makes a connection. I mean, I'm very privileged, you know, in our industry I've worked with people who have helped find jobs in their 30s. They're now senior managers in their early 50s and they're clients of mine. And I've seen the transitions all the way through. I've loved many opportunities or experiences where young graduates are coming out of Wollongong Uni into their first graduate role. And then to keep in touch with those people and sometimes they'll flourish in the same organisation, or I've helped them 2 or 3 times through their career. It's a privilege, it's an honour, but you can't do that unless you're part of the community and you're here for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again a brilliant answer, and you know that's what the network is all about, isn't it? Building relationships, building long-term relationships, and 360 HR Solutions does that in the work that you do as well. You did touch on this a little bit before, but I wonder if you can talk more about the types and roles or the industries that you most commonly support across the Illawarra, just so the members watching know what areas that you focus in.
Yeah, happy to do so. When I got involved with 360 HR back in the dim and distant days, 2006-7, we were 2 people, myself and now retired friend Graham Hodder, who may watch this video at some point. We had focused on and were very strong in providing engineering, construction and operational professionals into the heavy industrial sector. And absolutely, we continue to do that as a core part of our business. But as we've grown and built really good relationships with our clients and get to know them intimately well, of course, that just naturally or organically grows so that whilst our core business is still those technical engineering, operational, professional people, those same companies still need accountants and they need IT people. And they, of course, need the essential backbone of administration. So through demand and response, we can support pretty much our entire workforce, particularly in the professional and white collar space. There are some great companies in the Illawarra that will provide blue collar labour hire, very agile, very quick, responsive companies that can give you teams for a month or 2. That's probably not us. But in that professional space, we're still the core of engineering and operations, but we can now support and do support right across the board of a company's organizational structure. So Well, whilst we are Illawarra based, I think that talks to the industries we support, because foundationally, and just like the i3net represents its Illawarra's industrial sector. But of course, we're not just an industrial region. We have education, we have healthcare, we have IT. So we have grown outside of our core, but our core remains.
Mm.
I hope
Excellent.
that helps a little bit to explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much. And some people may or may not know that you actually recruited me into this role, Jonathan. So
That was a great experience, and I might just give myself a pat on the back and you. What a great team that was, And the
absolutely.
proof is in the pudding. The i3net's never been in better hands.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. No, very kind. And I can assure you from the other side, it's a great experience as well. So when you're the applicant going through the process. So yeah, thanks for that. But I digress. The other question I wanted to ask you was around challenges. So many local companies are facing recruitment challenges right now, and that is one of the reasons I asked you to participate in this particular video. Because you're local, you might have some insight here. Could you share or provide some information about how companies can navigate some recruitment challenges that they might be facing?
Absolutely, because it's very close to my heart, really. This and look, I might let's just frame this a little bit. So all companies, all organizations, especially in recent times, would quote that one of the biggest challenges is recruitment or resources, staffing. And what a company can't do much about is the availability on the market. So with skills shortages, skills in demand, and all those challenges that we all understand. So, but I think what I would say is that it's perhaps a little bit too narrow-sighted to think, oh, there's a skill shortage, that's why I can't recruit.
Mm.
Yes, that's fundamental, but that's the same for everybody. So if there's a skill shortage, all organizations have got, it's a competitive environment. And if you want to win, you've got to make sure that what you're offering is clear. There's clarity around it. Because one of the changes I've found is that when we've got skill shortages, which you genuinely have, a recruitment process is not a one-way street anymore. It's not candidates queuing up and hoping to do their best because they're all, hoping that they're going to get offered this job. Interviews are two-way streets. Employers are interviewing candidates. The strongest candidates are interviewing the employer because, of course, they've all good candidates these days have got options, and they're the ones that we want. So, yeah, I would say that yes, there's a skills shortage, and we're all aware of that. So, the important piece there is let's refine what have we got to offer. Why would that person join us? And those are things. It's not just salary. Of course, that's important, but what is my role going to be? Do I really know? And I don't. And most candidates don't want to know just what it's going to be today, but what will it be in 2 or 3 years? What does my management structure look like? My support structure? Where's my progression? What is the culture in this company? Those things need to be lined up and clearly communicated. Some of the best companies today that are struggling to recruit, it's not because they don't have a great offering often. It's maybe because they're not communicating or presenting what that company is really about. Maybe they have sophisticated recruitment strategies or sourcing strategies. So I would say that one of the best advice I could give is think about it from the candidate's perspective.
Yeah.
Why would they join this organization? So when you've got that right, of course, and covering some of the points I've just mentioned, perhaps one of the simplest, lowest hanging fruit, I could say, good candidates have got options. So let's get this process moving. Let's make it, if you've got somebody, make a decision quickly. If an organization is going to wait 3 or 4 weeks, I can tell you that the best people are probably gone by then. And frustratingly, and I understand it, there's decisions to be made. It's got to go up and down the chain. Other things have got to be considered. Timing doesn't get quite there. So people get busy. But if you're going to recruit something, if the role is important, let's put some importance on decisions.
Mm.
So be clear on what you can offer, make sure it's presented well, live what you're producing or presenting. But then when you're there, let's keep that process moving. You know, we've all bought houses, or perhaps most people have bought a house. And if you're the one that puts the hand up and says, I think I'll get it, I like that, would you? You know somebody's bought it before you've even stopped thinking.
Absolutely.
So perhaps we might just use some of that thinking when we're trying to attract and retain talent. And actually, while I touch on that, it's more focus on retention means you don't have to do as much recruitment. It's perhaps a great investment to retain the talent you've got. Do everything you can. Listen to them. If your staff are telling you that they're not happy or they want to progress or what's the next option and it's not there, you know, the retention rate will fall. Keep who you've got, nurture and grow them, and perhaps you won't have to worry about recruitment as much. You know? But yeah, if you are going to do it, let's make it critical and make decisions and get answers. Candidates have an experience. You know, they go through a hiring experience, and we just nicely touched on that before. I can tell you that if that experience isn't great, it doesn't end once that process is over. People talk. People have got families. People have got friends. They go down the pub and chat. People don't have a good experience. That I don't know. There's some coined phrase that if somebody's happy, they might tell one person. If somebody's unhappy, they might tell 10. So let's give everybody a good experience here and act promptly. A long-winded way about saying that, but I hope it's the point I think I've made. You know, we can do things about a candidate short market, but it's not about we can't create candidates. So let's tighten up our processes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like what you said about think about it from their perspective. Because I know if you're in the market to recruit somebody in your business, you're thinking about, oh, you've got that gap, you need to fill it. You're very much thinking about yourself and your problem rather than flipping it around and going, actually, what does this person need? What is the experience going to be for them? So I think that's I know that was one of the points that you raised, but I think that's a really great thing to mention at a time, particularly when the company or the person is very much thinking about, who are they going to find? So yeah, it's a really nice change there.
And it is valid. The company has got those challenges, but hey, let's think on both sides.
Absolutely. You may have touched on a little bit of this, but I think it might be useful to share with people if you have a particularly challenging placement that you have made maybe recently, how did you solve it? Just so people can find out how 360 HR Solutions manages complex problems.
Yeah, obviously it's a really interesting piece. I might start by saying, look, almost all placements have got challenges. Otherwise there wouldn't be a recruitment industry, and it wouldn't be right or appropriate for me to talk about specific people or specific companies. But I can give you a couple of examples come to mind. There'll be many people in our networks here that would be very aware that electrical engineers, all things electrical, is very much a challenge in recent times. We had a project that we were supporting, and an electrical project engineer left the project halfway through for unforeseen circumstances. And so that was a critical role, and it needed to be refilled. Now we're partway through a project here, so unfortunately it's not ideal to get perhaps a person earlier in their career that needs more supervision. If you keep needing somebody who's going to jump in, hit the ground running, you've obviously got to have the experience and the skill set from day one. I know a very good electrical project engineer who I thought would be perfect, but who had different things going on in his career at the time, and had no intention or no desire, rather, to work 45, 50 hours a week in the office on site, but fantastic fellow. Now, fortunately, the project manager of that company could see that and sat down and talked with the engineer and said, okay, well, what would work for you? So even though it's not common that person was able to structure their working week around when do I need to be in the office with the team, but when is it also okay for me to be at home? Because it's work that I need to put my head down and not get disturbed. Could I do some of those meetings online? So by that project manager being flexible and allowing 1 or 2 days a week from home when it could be sustained and accommodated for the project, it was allowed, and that got that fellow in the door, and everyone's happy. So there was adaptability and flexibility. I talk about that because any project manager sitting on who listens to this will know how difficult particular electrical project engineers with design and project management are to find right now. But another example, I suppose, which is current. Again, we can't and won't speak about specific people or companies. There is an organisation that's an industrial services company that has a health, safety, environment, quality, HSEC manager role that will become vacant because that person is going to retire. Fantastic person. It's been with the business over 10 years. Big shoes to fill, of course, and a very critical role. Safety professionals are also in high demand and short supply. There's a lot of capable people in that business also, which is important to note. So that organisation wants a full-time permanent HSEC manager, but it's a 3-day-a-week job. Now that's great if that's what you're looking for, but of course you can appreciate that diminishes your market, your pool of candidates. So whilst we are looking and searching for a person that not only can do the role, but also wants 3 days a week, and we keep that open, we sat down with the general manager, and the business manager, HR manager, and said, okay, look, we've got a limited pool here, but we've got a finite deadline for the retirement. What are our other options as a backup? So together we came up with, well, could this be, so one of the problems is it's not a full-time role, but we've got a budget for the position. Could this be a HR coordinator, a HSEC coordinator position with a strong safety, environment, quality professional that is still growing in their career, has got increasing capability? Could we make it a full-time permanent role for a coordinator level position that's going to cost the business the same, but of course that person will need added support? And now what we've got is 2 differing pools of talent, both of which could potentially fulfill this role. So again, going back to it, we can't create candidates. It's still a candidate short market. But can we be creative, adaptable, flexible, and find more ways than one of filling the need? I hope that sort of, they're very tricky roles, safety and electrical, they're very tricky, difficult, hard to fill roles. So adaptability, creativity has helped resolve both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like those 2 examples because it is approaching it at a different way, and also identifying or noticing what the candidates or the individuals need or want, whether that's, full-time work, not part-time, to make that pool bigger. And yeah, it's giving you more options. So they were really great examples. Beyond recruitment, what HR services do you offer that help local businesses build stronger teams?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's great because it gives me opportunities. When the business was named, it might not, you have to be a genius to work it out, but 360 HR is the full circle of human resources. That was always the style. So whilst we are a strong partner for recruitment and staffing from many organisations, HR is obviously it's a key element in almost every company. So, but there are many companies out there that don't have dedicated HR managers or HR teams, but that almost never negates the fact that they've got HR matters and issues to deal with. Which of course means that it falls usually to managers and leaders to put their HR hat on, in addition to the 2 or 3 hats they're probably already wearing. So we've developed over time that outsourced HR manager model. So we can come in when those matters are needed. We're always on the side, consulting and talking and supporting. But we're on an as-needs basis as opposed to a full-time permanent resource or a full-time or part-time permanent resource with an outsourced HR team as and when you need it.
Mm.
So that
Yeah,
works really well. The other piece is, we've talked about growth and hiring new people, etc. But, unfortunately and sadly, it's not always about growth. Sometimes an organisation has got to navigate their own economic challenges, structural challenges, and that might mean downsizing. That's a difficult scenario. Many people have experienced it. When that happens, we can be that partner that helps downsize. We call it downsizing with dignity. It's outplacement support. And there's an important piece there in that we can support management to help go through that restructuring process. We can support those people that are exiting the company to adjust, understand, and help them get back in the workforce. And that's important not only from the management that are having to execute that, and it's not only important for the employees that are leaving, but it can be really important for the employees that are staying. We've all heard the guilt complex and so on. If an organisation can do that with a bit of dignity and respect, that's in different economic times, that's a fairly common service that we provide and have done and continue to do so. So it's not always about growth. Sometimes it's about managing tricky matters, and sometimes it's about perhaps helping people restructure and downsize.
Absolutely. And it's so great that people can call on you for those services. I think that's a really great addition that you have on offer. My last question for you now, are there any tips or updates or changes that the membership should know about in the recruitment or HR space?
Oh, yeah, look, so I might just headline that with the HR space, particularly the legislation and compliance, is continuing and continually tightens, not loosening. To be compliant in the HR world there's more scrutiny these days, awards, classifications, employment contracts and standards, and there's more external auditing coming in, making sure that employers are doing the right thing. I think we've got changes in legislation. So the payday super is coming up from the 1 July this year, meaning that super's got to be paid in line with your salary instead of quarterly. So that is coming, and that will be legislation. So that's going to affect payroll systems. It's going to affect cash flow. I'd advise that for all our members and listeners that get ready for that in advance. Let's not wait till 1 July and then be on the back foot. We've got to be proactive here because that's coming and it will happen. So always watching the legislation. A health check of your HR compliance and systems is always advisable every year. Make sure what have we got, what's coming on the horizon. The other side, I suppose, which is perhaps a little bit more recruitment based. We've got it. We'd be all aware. There's a lot of capital projects underway in and around the region. It's absorbed many talented people, engineers, construction professionals, quality, cost, all of them. But over the next 12 months or so, a lot of those projects will start to complete. There is going to be a significant number of people heading into retirement, which is another issue on itself, the aging workforce, which is absolutely starting to bite, not just in the Illawarra, across the country, maybe across the world. But then there's two things there. We're also going to get a number of people coming onto the market that will be looking for their next opportunity. So organisations that might be geared up and ready for that opportunity may benefit from some of these really great people who are currently employed. They've got to compete here. It's not that those people are not just looking for the Illawarra, though. You've got to compete with Sydney opportunities, FIFO opportunities. So yeah, we're probably going to get some very good engineering and construction people becoming available. So being ready for that. After we've had a famine, we might have a little bit of a feast. But if you're not ready and you haven't got a great value proposition, perhaps you might miss that opportunity. Yeah, and actually I might just one last thing I would probably add. that I just touched on, the aging workforce. Now, we have got this problem and it's not going away. We've been talking about it for a long time, but it is really starting to bite. I have the privilege of talking to different organisations in different fields right across the region, and I don't know any that aren't feeling it in some way. So, and what that talks to is succession, succession planning, upskilling your existing workforce. Each time you're bringing in new talent, is that person ready for today and tomorrow? Because if we react when we're short of people with an aging workforce exiting the market, it's very difficult. So I would say keep a real close eye on what's your business going to look like in 3 to 5 years if significant people retire. So I could probably wrap that up by saying, those companies that are ready and forward-looking, there's some great opportunities, but to avoid being reactive when things bite. I think they're the businesses that might struggle. The ones that are ready could flourish.
Yeah,
that's all I've got
absolutely.
to say on that.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you, Jonathan. That's the end of my questions for you. And those tips were really useful. And particularly when you were just speaking before about the yearly health check as well, just to make sure that you are compliant, I think is another really good point that you've raised. So for those people watching the video, if you'd like to find out more about 360 HR Solutions and how they can help your business, we will definitely pop the contact details for Jonathan and the team below this video. But Jonathan, thank you so much for your time today, and looking forward to seeing you at our next i3net Industry Breakfast. Thanks so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, Bianca. It's a pleasure. I'll see you then.
And thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.